What is up, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel. You are in for a treat with this video today, guys. I put something together really nice that I think you guys are going to enjoy and get a lot of value out of, especially if your goal isn't necessarily trying to burn fat as much as it is trying to put on good quality muscle. There's a big misconception in the fitness industry that all you really need to do to put on size is to do the right workouts and eat chicken and rice, but that is simply not the case, guys. You need specific foods in certain quantities if your ultimate goal is to build your body up into the machine that we both know it's capable of becoming. In this video, what I'm gonna do is outline an exact and specific meal plan with all the prep instructions and everything on what you should be doing if your ultimate goal, like I said, is to put on good quality size. Think of your body the same way you would think of like a house. You have this house and you wanna put a room on it, right? You wanna build a porch on the back of it, add a new addition to it. You are not gonna do that without the raw materials needed for that. So in our instance, these raw materials, in order to build our body, are gonna be things like brown rice, chicken breast, and a host of other things I prepared for this meal prep video. Now keep in mind, everybody is genetically different. Everybody's got different stats, male, female, height, weight, and all this stuff that can vary from individual to individual, but I really think that this would be a good starting point and a good diet to base your future diets off of as you move towards the goal of putting on good quality muscle. So I'm gonna cover a lot in this video, guys, so hopefully you are in for the long haul in this one. And if you guys are ready to get this show underway, then I am ready to guide you. Let's do it! We are gonna start this off with meal number one. Now, the goal with meal number one is to get a good amount of our protein in for the day, get a good amount of complex carbohydrates, get some pretty good flavor, and make it something that's quick and easy to whip up that way. It's not something you really have to prep in advance. You can if you want, but I'm of the type that I like to cook my breakfast every morning, just kind of part of my routine. So this is gonna call for 6 large eggs. It's also gonna call for 1 cup of old-fashioned oatmeal, as well as 2 servings of PB2 to give that oatmeal some flavor without getting all the fat from like natural peanut butter. Now, keep in mind, you can go ahead and add in natural peanut butter if that's something you want to do. Just keep in mind that's going to push your calories up and it might put your fat to levels that we don't want it. We want to keep our fats in a really good place throughout this program, and I will go over the specifics of all the macronutrients and the calories and everything at the end of this video, along with a full list of everything. That way you can just screenshot it right on your phone and you have all the information you need. So let's go ahead and get this stuff prepped. So the first thing we're going to do is take our eggs and go ahead and remove the inner portion from the shell. That might sound like common sense to some of you guys, but you would be surprised some of the questions I get from people that are prepping food for the first time. So go ahead and get 6 eggs ready to go, and 6. And we're gonna be cooking the eggs in a skillet. Now, before I actually throw them on here, what I like to do is turn my pan on and let it preheat for a little bit before I actually throw the eggs on. If you preheat your pan, guys, you can literally cook 6 eggs in like 45 seconds. It's super fast. I will show you guys that here in a second. So while we're waiting on this, let's go ahead and get the other portion of meal 1 done. And then meal 1's gonna call for 1 cup of oatmeal. Now, we're using quick 1-minute oats here. I usually recommend old-fashioned, but this was all they had when I went. They're literally the same thing. These have just been chopped up into smaller pieces, so it'll work. But I find that getting the full oat that hasn't been chopped up, to me, for some reason, tastes a little better. So we need to grab 1 cup of this. There we go. And I'm gonna go in here and add some water to this. I usually recommend filling it up to where the water line is kind of right at the top of the oatmeal. I would say this would probably work for what we're doing. I'll try to give you a good view of that. Kind of get the water line right there to the top. Not too much water, but just enough. So you gotta experiment a little bit to find out which ratios work best for you. Now we're gonna go ahead and microwave this for about 2 minutes. There we go. So now that the oatmeal's done, to add a little bit of flavor, we're gonna use some PB2 peanut powder to put in here. Now we're gonna be using 2 tablespoons of this, which you can weigh it out if you're being super strict on all your measurements, but I find that when I'm lean bulking, I can kind of just use the measurements. I'm a little more meticulous when I'm cutting. So if it says 1 tablespoon per serving, typically I'll just go off of that. There we go. Go in and mix this all together. And then feel free to add any cinnamon, or if you want to add a little salt or anything to this, you can. The thing that's actually really good in this is Walden Farm 0-calorie syrup. Add a little bit of that in here. You're not getting any extra calories, but you're getting a lot of flavor. And there we go. Oatmeal is done. Now that this is preheated, I want you guys to see just how fast this can be. Hit it with a little bit of cooking spray. And then we're just going to take our eggs and add them right in. So get right down in here and mix them up. And as you can see, they're already cooking really fast. You can add your seasonings or anything else you'd want to add. I like salt-free seasonings. Mrs. Dash makes some really good ones. Flavor God's really good. Really, it's whatever your personal preference is. Even just some basic salt and pepper could do wonders. See, look how quick these are whipping up, guys. Literally 45 seconds or so, and these are just about done. See, look at that. Boom, done already. Now we'll just go ahead and add them to our bowl. And there we go, guys. And there you have it. Meal number 1 is done and out of the way. 6 large eggs, 1 cup of oatmeal, 2 servings of PB2. This gives us about 40 grams of fat, 60 grams of carbohydrates, and 50 grams of protein at meal 1. So this is taking care of a good chunk of our nutrition first thing in the morning, or I should say the first meal you eat. As most of you guys know, if you've been following me long enough, I practice intermittent fasting, and I get the question asked a lot to me, is it still beneficial when you are in a lean bulk? And I always tell people, yes, it most definitely is, especially if your goal is to keep your metabolism high while you are consuming all of this food. The last thing you want is to put on any unnecessary weight. The main goal with this is to eat good, quality, wholesome sources of nutrition in specific quantities while keeping fat low in order for your body to be as anabolic as it possibly can be. Anabolic referring to your body's ability to put on muscle mass. So I usually fast still 3 to 4 hours first thing in the morning, but understand that if you're fasting in the morning, you should supplement with branched chain amino acids. And I will say right now, I am sponsored by this company, but what I do first thing in the morning is take 2 scoops of pure aminos that not only gets caffeine in my system, but it gets those branched chain aminos in my system while I'm fasting to ensure my body is doing what it needs to do in regards of fat loss, muscle gain, and all that good stuff. So I know I talk about this a lot, but it's a product I've taken for a really long time before I was ever sponsored. They have a ton of good flavors, guys, a wide variety, and my favorite is probably by far rainbow candy. 0 calories, so you don't have to worry about it breaking your fast, none of that stuff. I want to say you get like 60 servings for around $30 if you use my discount code RJF10 at checkout. So I just wanted to tell you guys about them. I do take those every day. If you follow me long enough, you know that that's how I do things. But understand that fasting may not be right for you when you're consuming this much food. I'm the type of guy that I can eat a lot of food, especially in one sitting. So when I'm lean bulking, that still doesn't even seem like enough food to me. But some people have a really hard time putting down food in quantities like this. So if you're the type that you would eat this and you would be absolutely miserable, then you might not want to fast. You might just want to wake up first thing, eat this. That way you can space your meals out enough to where you're not feeling discomfort most of the day. Understand that everybody's different. People have certain methodologies and ideologies that work for them that might not work for you. So I always tell people, do what works best for you, because the best program is the one that you can follow. So anyways, meal 1 is done. Healthy fats, complex carbohydrates, everything we need right here. Good quality protein sources. So now that this is done, let's move on to meals 2 and 4. Now that breakfast is out of the way, it's time to knock out 2 birds with 1 stone. We're gonna be prepping 2 meals right now at once. I find that having 2 meals that are the exact same in your program makes it way easier to prep and takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. You don't have to buy as much at the store. And plus, this way is probably one of the most cost-effective ways to do things. So each of these meals is gonna consist of 8 ounces of chicken breast, and I bought a big container of it, but I am prepping strictly for this video. I already have enough food prep for myself and my cutting diet that I'm currently on. So unfortunately, we won't be making this entire package. I also have 2 Uncle Ben's brown rice, instant rice, microwavable packets. Now, once again, if I was prepping for the week, for instance, I would cook an entire batch of it, and I wouldn't buy these because they are a little pricier if you're cooking in bulk. You can always go ahead and just buy a big bag of brown rice and cook it in a pot or whatever and have it prepped for the entire week. And then our veggies for this meal prep, we're gonna be using green peas. Now, the reason why green peas are gonna be beneficial for us here is that 1, they have a pretty high carbohydrate content, a high protein content, and minimal fat content, as well as, in my opinion, being absolutely delicious. So we'll go ahead and we'll split this bag up between the 2 meals as well. So let's go ahead and get started. Now at this point, we need 1 pound of chicken breast. And like I said, we're gonna split that up between the 2 meals. I'm gonna just do some quick, fast trimming here. I'm not gonna spend too much time explaining how to trim. I do that in a lot of my other videos, but basically if it's white and gristly, go ahead and just cut her right off. And then for me personally, I find it's much easier if I cut all the chicken into little pieces. It cooks a lot faster, and then I'm not wasting time when I'm eating it, having to cut it up or anything like that. And it cooks more evenly throughout too, at a quicker pace. This is all about speed and efficiency for me. Eventually you kind of quit eating for taste. Not that I don't think this tastes good, but you start just kind of wanting to save as much time as possible. The less time you spend in the kitchen, the more time you can spend doing other activities, such as, hey, lifting more weights, going on dates, playing video games, whatever it is that you want to do. And then as I get these out here, what I'll do is move them over to my food scale here and weigh them out. So there's 6.3 ounces approximately. I will check back in once we have all 16 ounces or 1 pound of chicken weighed out and ready to go. And here we go. We officially have 16 ounces or 448 grams all weighed out here for our chicken breast. So this will be perfect for both of our meals. And then I'll probably go ahead and bag the rest of this up, freeze it, that way I can prep it at a later date. So that's one thing I always tell people. You can either A, cook it all in advance and then freeze it, and then just let it thaw a couple days before you want to eat it, or take the raw chicken, go ahead and bag it up, and then either put it in the fridge if you're gonna prep it in the next couple days, or put it in the freezer and let it thaw before you plan on prepping it in the future, guys. Ultimately, that'll save you money, time, whatever your goal is for that particular time. If you only need 1 day's worth of meals, then just prep that 1 day. If you want wanna go ahead and do the whole week and you have the time, go for that as well. So let's go ahead and cook this chicken. Now cooking chicken is the same principle as the eggs. I went ahead and already preheated my pan here, hit it with a little bit of cooking spray. There we go, and I'll just take my chicken and place it in the pan. Now I'm gonna go ahead and spread it out evenly. And then what I'll do is I'll let it cook on one side for a second, and then I'll flip it as needed. And within about 5 minutes or so, this should be cooked and ready to go. And boom, within 5 minutes, we were able to get our chicken prepped, cooked all the way through. Just pay close attention to it. Make sure it's not pink in the middle of any of the pieces, and you're good to go. Regarding seasonings, I typically add seasoned salt, some 0-calorie, salt-free seasonings, stuff like that to it. Season it how you want it, guys. Like I said, this is just a video showing you the quantities and the specifics of how you should be eating if your goal is to put on muscle mass. Well, go ahead. I got 2 meal prep containers here, and then while we were cooking this, I went ahead and placed our green peas in the microwave for 4 minutes and 30 seconds. This is a steam bag, so it just steams them in there, gets them nice and ready for us. And then I also threw both of our brown rice packets in the microwave as well. So this is all done. Now all we gotta do is sort it, considering that we've already factored all of these into the program. We don't have to weigh them out as we move them over to these containers because we already know what we're getting nutrition-wise from each of these. So if you are preparing brown rice, keep in mind each of these bags is gonna be 2 cups of brown rice if you were cooking them yourself. And then as far as green peas goes, each serving is 178 grams of peas in each meal prep container. So go ahead, grab our chicken, put it in the meals here. There we go. Perfect. That protein is going to ensure that we have the necessary amount of amino acids to be able to build muscle at an optimal rate. Now we're going to take our brown rice packets, place them in each of these as well. Now keep in mind, I don't know if these containers are going to hold all of this food. I have some reservations about that. If that's the case, make sure you are buying bigger containers than this. I didn't even think that through, but hey, if it's a complication, we will attempt to overcome it. There we go. And now we just gotta split the peas up between the two. Grab a spoon here to make a little bit of room. And as you can see, guys, this is quite a bit of food, but this is what is necessary to actually build muscle. You can build muscle without as many calories or as much protein in the beginning because your body is far more anabolic in those first few months of training. But once you kind of get closer to your genetic potential, this is when this nutrition becomes vital in making gains. Look at any pro bodybuilder and how they eat, or any pro physique competitor, and look at how they eat in the off season. It is very similar to this. Go ahead and take our green peas, add them in, and boom, both of these meals are done. They are packed to the absolute brim. We'll have to literally snap that lid down on them, but both of these meals are good to go. So now that these meals are done, I was actually able to get the lids on them a little easier than I thought, but they are packed clear to the brim. And as you can see, this is quite a bit of food. So like I said, I intermittent fast, but if you're the type that has trouble eating a lot of food at one time, make sure you are spacing these meals out. And another rule of thumb is that you don't necessarily have to eat every 2 or 3 hours. If you want to, you can combine these two into just one meal and make that one massive meal. Or you can take your breakfast and combine it with one of these. As long as you're getting your necessary nutrition in throughout the course of the day, you are good to go, guys. So I'm gonna go ahead and place these in my fridge, and those will be good to be consumed later. And like I said, you can always freeze them, which will probably be what I do, since I won't need those maybe until my high carb day, considering those meals have an abundance of complex carbohydrates that I don't necessarily need right now that I am dropping weight. But that's besides the point. Let's go ahead and move on to we'll call this meal 3, because I would call those in the plan meal 2 and meal 4. So we'll go ahead and move on to meal 3, which is super easy to whip up, and I think you guys will find it delicious if you've never had anything like this before. Now this meal is very simple to whip up. You're gonna need 2 cups of old-fashioned oatmeal. This meal is gonna be one of our largest in terms of getting our overall calories up there and carbohydrates up there while still keeping our protein high as well and fat minimal. So we go down in here, 2 cups, boom. Now you might need an extra large Tupperware container to fit this whole thing in, and you can end up splitting this into 2 meals if you want to, but I prefer to just kind of eat it all in one chunk. So I'm gonna add water to this. There we go. And then once again, I'm gonna go ahead and throw it in the microwave for probably about 1.5 to 2 minutes. And fresh out of the microwave, we have our oatmeal. And then the protein I'm gonna be using for this is BPI Sports ISO HD, a very lean protein, minimal fat, minimal carbs, 25 grams of protein per scoop. We're gonna need 2 scoops of this, 1 and 2. And then now the next part's personal preference. I like to go ahead and add some ground cinnamon to this as well. And then all I do now at this point is go in and stir it all up. And you might need to add a little bit more water to get this to mix together all the way through, depending on what type of oatmeal you're using. I find that the instant oatmeal like this, the quick oats, tend to absorb more water than the regular oatmeal, at least from my experience. I could be totally wrong, but I always seem to kind of feel that way. All right, it looks like we don't necessarily need any more water. It looks like we had about the perfect amount. So as you can see here, guys, this mixes up into a really nice consistency, and I absolutely love eating my oatmeal like this. I know oatmeal plain can turn some people off. That's why I like to add PB2 or something with some flavor to it. But I'm telling you guys, when you are dieting, protein oatmeal literally becomes a very simple and essential part of your diet. You can literally whip whip this up in no time at all. Take the raw ingredients with you anywhere, and all you really need is a microwave. And even in a pinch, all you really need is the water, and you don't necessarily even need the microwave. So boom, there you have it. And like I said, guys, if you've never had this before, give it a try. Use a good tasting protein brand, and I'm telling you, this will not steer you wrong. You can even throw some peanut butter or whatever else in here if you're really trying to get those calories up, get some nice fat content from it, and give this just an overall amazing flavor. Let's go ahead and good stuff, guys. And you can even, like I said, split this into multiple meals, do whatever you need to do. You can even cut the oatmeal out of meal 1, add it into this so it's even bigger. Like I said, guys, it all comes down to the amount of calories and macros you have throughout the course of the day. So this would be meal number 3 in our program. Meal number 4 being one of the meals we just prepped a few minutes back. Then we're almost to our macro goal for the day. So I'm gonna go ahead, Tupperware this up as well because I personally right now don't need it. And I will show you guys what the final meal and my favorite meal is in this bulking program. Stay tuned. And now the final meal in this program is where you can get a little bit flexible. I'm a firm believer. If you've been following me for long enough, you know that I always preach like an 80-10 balance, right? You wanna keep your diet as clean as you possibly can, but if you can fit certain things into your macros and into your plan to help keep you not only sane, but not really necessarily feeling like you are on a diet or a meal plan, then more power to you. Go ahead and do it. And I do it all the time and I still get amazing results. And it's really helped me with this entire lifestyle, wrapping my brain around the fact that you don't have to be 100% clean in order to achieve the body that you want, the body of your dreams, whatever cliche you want me to throw in there. But the final meal of the day for me is going to be a birthday cake halo top. Now, I absolutely love these guys. You're talking on average about 50 grams of carbs per container. So that's way down from like Ben & Jerry's or any other type of ice cream. And you're also talking 24 grams of protein per container with only, in this particular one, 6 grams of fat. Certain flavors have different macronutrient profiles, but most of them are gonna stay relatively all around the same. And some other flavors that get honorable mentions, you got like red velvet, you got peanut butter cup, you got oatmeal cookie. I have a few of these in my fridge right now. I'll go ahead and put some videos and stuff in this right here. You probably have already seen them to show you some of the other ones I keep on hand, but this is what keeps me sane, guys. Knowing that if I follow my plan all day, my final meal of the day can be something like this. Now, if you are the type that doesn't necessarily want to have this in your diet, right, or this could lead to binging or something like that, another cup of oatmeal would be great, or you can find something else. Get some rice cakes if you want them. Maybe some Fiber One bars. I absolutely love those. Maybe you want some protein bars. Whatever you want, guys, the final meal can be a little more flexible. This is how I like to do things. So that wraps up all 5 of our meals for this lean bulk program. Now, I bet you're wondering how many calories is in this, how many macros are in this, and what exactly this entails from a nutritionary standpoint. So let's go ahead, break this down macro by macro, meal by meal, give you the full plan details and all of that. And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at just how much nutrition is packed into these 5 meals. Let's do it. The first thing I'm gonna go ahead and do is put the entire meal plan on the screen right here. It should say meal 1 through 5. I'll tell you exactly what was in all the meals, the exact weight in grams. That way it's universal for everybody across the globe. And for those of you guys that are here in the US of A, 28 grams equals 1 ounce. So you just might have to do a little bit of math. Give you a few seconds if you want to. You can go ahead and screenshot this right now. That way you have it. And I'll go ahead and put the actual meal plan down in the description box below as well. That way you can copy and paste it, as well as the macros and the calories and the entire breakdown down in the description box. So go ahead and check that out. And then moving into this program now, we have in total the amount of calories in this entire meal plan is 3,417 calories. Now, I base this upon how I would treat myself in a lean bulk scenario. My total daily energy expenditure, or the amount of calories I typically use in a day, is around 2,700 or so, give or take a little bit, but 2,700 is usually where I would lie at. And then as I reverse out of a cut, I would bump my calories up slowly and ultimately would probably land around the 3,400 mark, and I would follow that for a couple weeks and then readjust as I went, watching my weight and seeing how it fluctuated week to week. And at the end of my bulks, I'll usually top out around 4,000 calories before I start reeling it back down. If you're training intensely 5 times a week, this is a very good place for you to start. And then from an overall macro standpoint, we have 78 grams of fat, 283 grams of protein, and 432 grams of carbohydrates. My thought process behind this is that we keep fat low at around 78 grams simply because we don't need that fat to be much higher than 70 grams, given that any fat past that point really isn't doing anything for our body from a hormonal standpoint, and all it really is at that point is extra calories in your body. When you are in a caloric surplus, as we will be with this program, your body will take that fat and is most likely going to store it as fat. It doesn't really provide much benefit to us, so we keep fat low. Now, protein's 283 grams. If you are trying to build muscle, they always recommend a minimum of 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I find that the best progress I've made is when I keep that at about 1.5 grams per pound of body weight. Right now I weigh about 185 or so. You do that math out, that puts us approximately right at about 270, 275 grams of protein for me. So I like to bump it up a little higher than that. 283 puts us in a really good spot. The more protein and amino acids you have, the more likely your body is to utilize those to build muscle and put on good quality size. And then carbohydrates, 432 grams. Comprised of those carbohydrates, we have 66 grams of fiber. That's going to ensure that everything is moving through our system optimally and that we're not being stopped up. And that's one of the important things about eating your greens. I know some people that don't really like to eat their green vegetables, but I'm telling you that the micronutrient benefits from it, the vitamins, the minerals, the fiber, all that stuff does wonders for speeding up your metabolism and making sure all of your metabolic and anabolic processes are working properly. So make sure you're getting those greens in, guys. Green peas, everybody should like green peas. I'm telling you, they're amazing, but asparagus works, broccoli works, do whatever works best for you. I prefer Brussels sprouts quite a bit, so just do whatever you can do to get those greens in. I'm telling you, they are essential for your overall health, recovery, all that stuff. And then carbs, given that we don't need much more protein, we don't need much more fat, we have to fill the rest of those calories with something, and that's where carbohydrates come into play. The majority of the carbohydrates in this program are of the complex variety, meaning that they have the lowest insulin response and they are further down on the glycemic index, so your body is less likely to have an insulin spike, which is in turn going to cause you to store fat at an excessive rate. So it's important that you aren't just binging on sugar and eating a lot of junk food, because those foods have a very negative response on your body. So if your goal, like I said, is to put on lean muscle, lean size, you want to make sure your carbohydrates are coming from only the best sources. And I love oatmeal. You might have noticed there was a lot of oatmeal in that plan. Oatmeal is one of the best carbohydrates you can have, and I find that it's not bad when you mix some stuff with it. Like I said, PB2 protein powder, especially that protein oatmeal, guys, give that a try. I'm telling you, you will love it. If you want to play with this program a little bit, you can. You might notice I didn't have any fruit in this, didn't have any berries or anything like that. You can easily throw those into your plan as well to help with the micronutrients, especially if you're a little bit short on vegetables. So imagine you take a little bit of your oatmeal away, add in a cup of blueberries, something like that, mix it right in, boom, there you go. And yeah, guys, that is my lean bulk program that I put together just for this video. I really hope you guys enjoyed this information. That is one question I got all the time was, okay, you're always cutting, you're doing this, you're doing that. What would you do to put on mass? And I'm telling you, if you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel right now, because I am going to be doing a lean bulk series after this cut is over. And hey, you could even start watching the cutting series where we're at right now. We're making awesome progress. I show you how I prep my meals, how I train, stuff like that. You would probably really enjoy it. So hopefully you guys got some value out of this. In the end, I ultimately make these videos for you guys, that way you can learn, because knowledge truly is power when it comes to fitness, nutrition, and all this stuff. The first year I did all of this whole lifting thing, I thought I knew how to eat, I thought I knew how to train, and I realized how wrong I was. So learn from my mistakes, guys. Don't spin your wheels for a year, 2 years. Jump right in, get everything dialed in from the get-go. That way you spend less time spinning your wheels and more time making gains. With that, guys, I'm gonna call this a video. If you enjoyed this video and you enjoyed the information and you enjoyed maybe the overall vibe of the channel, go ahead and hit that like button. That helps me more than you even realize. And like I said, if you're not subscribed, subscribe. And if you have any ideas for future meal plans you'd like me to create, maybe some themes to them, maybe a fish themed one, fish themed, no one's gonna say that. Maybe a budget one where I really try to make the cheapest meal plan I possibly can. Whatever you guys wanna see, comment that below as well, because I'm always open for suggestions. Thank you guys, as always, for your continuous support. And don't forget to smile, remain positive, and pay someone a compliment, because you never know whose day you could be making better. With that, I'm out of here. This has been a Remington James production, and I will see you guys at the next video. See you guys.